The other huge mistake was coming in and doing this massive spending and printing and borrowing of money that was not necessary, was totally gratuitous. And Biden was warned by people who worked for Bill Clinton and all these other liberal politicians saying, don't do this. If you do it, you're going to spike inflation. And that's exactly what has happened. We have the worst inflation we've seen in 40 years, and it is a result of the Biden policies. And it's a double whammy because when you're inflating the currency, when you're doing all that to make prices go up, overstimulating, while at the same time cutting production of domestic energy, that just exacerbates the problem. So that's really what our country's having to deal with, and we're not immune for it. You know, we fight back against all these policies with everything we've got, but when they're printing $5-6 trillion, you know, our entire budget in Florida is $109 billion. I mean, so this is a drop in the bucket compared to what they're doing, but it's causing huge problems for families all across our country. People on fixed income, you say, oh, Social Security has this big increase. That is not enough to keep up with the costs of everything. They say 8% increase, but the groceries are twice that much in terms of what they're going up. So give me a break on all this. It's been harmful for people. It is hurting business. It's hurting individuals. It's hurting seniors. It's hurting families. So what we're doing in Florida with the next go-round with the legislature is we're going to try to provide more relief for people. And the way I view it is, okay, obviously in the state we can't control the Fed and all this other stuff that they're doing in Congress, but I can look to see how can I be helpful in working with the legislature to provide relief for people who are getting pinched by the Biden inflation. And when you have big inflation, things get more expensive, people can make choices on doing certain things. You may cut back on entertainment. You may cut back on some other, but there are certain things you have to do. So one of the things you have to do is you got to go to work. And so we are going to reduce by 50% all tolls in Florida for all of our commuters who use it every day. So when you're going, you know, day after day to work, you rack up. Once you hit a certain number, we know you're not a tourist, you're a commuter, they're just going to rebate you half the prices of the tolls on your SunPass or all these other things. It's going to be a big deal, particularly in Central Florida, because I know there's a lot of them. But, you know, we have some people that will do hundreds of dollars a month in tolls because they're driving around. And so this will save people, certainly commuters, hundreds of dollars, but some people will be over $1,000 of savings in those tolls. The other thing that you have to do is kind of one of the things I mentioned earlier, like you got to take care of your kids, particularly the babies. And so we looked at what we did this year for the sales tax holiday for 1 year, and we said, you know what, in Florida, it's hard enough raising kids nowadays. You know, let's make that tax-free as much as we can. So we're going to do permanent no sales tax on diapers and wipes and cribs and strollers and all that stuff. So we want the families to succeed. I think it'll be, and the thing about it is, I remember when we had our first, I didn't realize how expensive these strollers are. I mean, good Lord. And some of them has gizmos on it, and I never figured out how to work those. But it's just like, okay, so maybe if you're spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a lot of this stuff, maybe not have to do tax is going to make a big difference. So we're doing, and we're also going to do like kids equipment, sports equipment, a bunch of other stuff, books. We're going to do 2 back-to-school holidays, so not just leading into fall semester. We're going to do it for spring semester as well, so you get 2 bites at the apple for back-to-school holidays. But you got to take care of the kids. It's not like you just can decide not to on that, particularly with the diapers. If you don't do that, you get really messy really quickly. Another thing we're doing, because, again, this is something you have to do, is we're going to have no tax on pet food in the state of Florida. And I think that's going to be huge for people. Got to take care of the pets. Very, very important. So we're working on ways to be able to lessen the burden. And there's other things we've done. You know, it actually applies in Polk, too, because I know we did have homes that were destroyed, not as many as Southwest Florida. But what I did was I suspended, for people that lost their homes or had really significant damage, we suspended property taxes for them. I'm getting the legislature to come back in a special session between now and the end of the year and we're gonna give them rebates on that tax owed because they don't need to be worrying about paying taxes when they're trying to save their homes or rebuild their homes. And so that's very important, and we're really happy to be able to do that. But you know, what was their answer to inflation in Washington with Pelosi and Biden and all them? They passed a bill called the Inflation Reduction Act. And even now, a lot of the media admits it doesn't reduce inflation. Hell, it doesn't even have anything to do with inflation. If anything, it's going to increase because they actually impose taxes on energy, on different types of oil and gas. So why would you do that when gas prices are high anyway? So they did that. But one of the things they did in that bill was they created 87,000 new IRS agents. And I can tell you, those IRS agents, they are not going to be going after limousine liberals who support the current government. They're going to be going after you. They're going to be going after people who they don't like. And that is going to sick a lot of government power on an awful lot of people. And the thing is you go after like some sole proprietor, they don't have access to fund accountants and lawyers to be able to fight the audit. So they know that those folks aren't going to be able to handle it, so they just bring the power of the IRS down. They're going to crush a lot of people in this country. And I just think, like, we shouldn't be doing 87,000 IRS agents. We should be doing 87,000 Border Patrol agents to get this border controlled. And I just think, like, you're doing these IRS agents, and I think that every member of Congress who voted for those IRS agents, every one of those members should get audited every year by the IRS. Let's just make it fair. And you wonder the slop that they're producing in Washington with people like Pelosi. You know, she's been there so long. Why do we not have term limits for members of Congress? If we did that, it'd be a lot better. So we're going to continue outpacing the nation on economy and on our budget and how we run things. But we know that there's some storms on the horizon. Hopefully, they retire Nancy Pelosi on November 8th. I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get it done.